Okay, before we start this session, if I could just ask everybody to take their seats. So I have a little announcement to make, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to point to a gentleman, Dr. Assad, from the Ministry of Higher Education in Oman. There you go, Dr. Assad. Okay. Dr. Assad has just spoken to his minister, who has agreed under her patronage for Oman, the entire support of the government of Oman, that this summit will follow up in 2019. So I'll be making further announcements over the next couple of days. But 2019, the Innovation Summit will be in Muscat, which I'm looking forward to. Okay. And just on that point, I have taken a few comments. It's not all, the timing is not all my fault, that this isn't always a good time of year. We just had Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha is coming, and so the Minister has requested that that will take place in September, the second week in September before the UN General Assembly. And that's when that will happen in 2019. And I just have a comment on the UN General Assembly regarding Mario Franco. That's this UN General Assembly in 2018. Mario, I know you're trying to pay attention again. Mario is hosting during the UN General Assembly week a special forum for sustainable education, which the purpose is really, the important thing in countries is the lack of data, the necessity to have the data to implement policies. So and particularly the World Bank and the Global Partnership for Education, to obtain the funding for large-scale projects, we need that data. So myself, along with Mario, will be chairing that during the UN General Assembly week, which I think is the 27th and 28th of September this year. But I have a high-level panel to do, and I don't have anybody on the panel yet. So if you are looking to come to the UN General Assembly this September and you wish to join the high-level panel on funding, then please come and see me or see Mario, and we'll be able to have you come to New York in September. So in the meantime, we're going to move on, and as I said just before the coffee break, on three key issues: STEM education, or STEM innovation, artificial intelligence, and then the future of digitization. So we'll start off, and I'd like to give a warm welcome to the President of Discovery Education International. Please welcome Kelli Campbell.
Good afternoon. I have to move this down just a little bit here. There we go. Welcome, everyone. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to be here today. My name is Kelli Campbell, and as John said, I am President of Discovery Education International. But before I tell you a little bit about what we do, I did want to ask Mario a question. I'm going to put you on the spot. If FAIL was an acronym, what would it stand for? FAIL, F-A-I-L. No, first attempt in learning. So that's what we tell students we work with around the globe, is you never fail. It is actually your first attempt in learning. And what digital content can do, in fact, is give those students opportunities, multiple attempts. So whether it is an instance where they're putting a plant in a window to grow it and they have to change the different parameters and see if more sunlight will help it grow or more water will help it grow. If they did it just once in a window and waited 6 weeks, they'd have an answer. But if they tried it digitally, they might have 13, 14 different attempts in learning in that opportunity. So first attempt in learning is how we think about it. So Discovery Education is a part of Discovery Communications. People most recognize our name for our media channels around the globe. We're in about 220 different countries with channels like Discovery Channel and Animal Planet and Science Channel. And Discovery Education has a great opportunity of harnessing that global content bringing it into classrooms. We were one of the first companies to put content in the cloud before it was actually called the cloud. And over the last 20 years, we've evolved that into creating core digital textbooks for the classroom, along with professional development and a teacher community to ensure that content and high-quality digital content, along with STEM innovation, is executed with rigor and sustainability. So in the United States, which is where we're based and expanding globally, Karen Cater, who is the president and CEO of Digital Promise, has often said, the problem with education in America is not lack of excellence, it's lack of equity. So all around the globe, there are pockets of amazing things that are going on. It's not a problem of individual assets or individual opportunities of excellence. It's getting that to scale and doing it in a way that is applied to all students and the opportunity is given to all students. You each have on your table an article about high-quality digital content. I'm going to reference it throughout this discussion. Our Chief Academic Officer, Marty Creel, who has about 30 years in public education in a variety of different settings, came up with a couple of key components on the importance of high-quality digital content. Content these days is available all over the place. The information age has been terrific at providing access to content, but there's a lot of content out there that's either just wrong, it's fake news, it's inaccurate, it's outdated. So having access for all students to high-quality digital content can have profound impacts. So the first on this list, improving the vocabulary of the youngest learners. So we'd all know, and studies show, that socioeconomic impact can have a dramatic effect on young learners as soon as they start school. So impoverished students start at a disadvantage from those children who may have access to more resources through economic means. So in education, if we're able to give them an advantage of vocabulary acquisition, they can start out on the right foot. And what digital content can do, just by way of example, is provide vocabulary for students maybe who are entering into the education system where the language where the education is being taught is not their first language. So that digital content, whether it's text or audio or other resources, text can be switched between multiple languages. Or if an early education student maybe just can't read, that vocabulary acquisition can be brought to them through other means, whether that's visual or an auditory aspect. So digital content can provide a lot of different ways to access that vocabulary. And the other thing that has been found in studies, I hope nobody got hurt with that plate, is that vocabulary acquisition can provide the right baseline for all other subjects. So literacy and language acquisition will, of course, help with results in science and maths and other subject matter. Number two, breaking down barriers to learning for all students. So, 40 years ago when I was in class in elementary school, nobody would have pegged me or even would have said, you're a visual learner. I know now that I'm a visual learner. So if you have four major categories of learners, visual, auditory, read, write, and kinesthetic, anybody else in this room a visual learner? If people popping up their heads. Of course, it's somebody else who works at Discovery. We're naturally visual learners. Auditory learners in the room. I don't often get auditory learners. Read, write, more people from reading, and kinesthetic, more the hands-on learning. I actually found earlier in some of the presentations, I did tend to perk up when a visual or a video was in response. And so what digital learning can do, even in our own environment, is provide different ways to access content. So you can have a video or an interactive can provide access for those visual learners as well as those kinesthetic learners. The read-write learners in different languages or different reading levels. So digital content can switch for a reading level for a more advanced learner or a learner who is just entering in. So opportunities for any individual objective or subject area being presented in a variety of different ways. The third bullet, providing all students multiple ways to shine. This is about assessment. How do we assess students? We talked a little bit about this earlier. So whether it is a formative assessment or a benchmark type assessment, thinking of it as something beyond selected response. So can we actually monitor and assess students all along the way as students are interacting with digital content? Can we capture that data and then provide real-time feedback so that they can adapt their learning and shine? Or can they submit their outputs, their learning in different manners, whether that's their own video presentation, or can they submit it in an interactive format through use of technologies? Again, different ways to assess students and assess their abilities and where they stand on a spectrum of learning. And then finally, engaging all students in high-level thinking. So we're going to talk a little bit about AI later. So whether it's AI or VR, ways to interact with content that prompt higher order thinking skills and then prompt debate and collaboration and communication amongst those students. Digital content, and more specifically, high-quality digital content, can prompt all of these. Again, since I'm a visual learner and since I'm from Discovery, you're going to see quite a few videos throughout this presentation. And the first is an example of a case study in the United States in this example of how they've introduced digital content as well as a lot of professional development to really move their students on a scale of learning.
I was at the beach and I saw erosion and deposition in a delta, and I'm like, hey, I learned that on Discovery Ed.
In classrooms that utilize the Discovery Ed textbook, we see higher average pass rates on our state test. We see higher average scores overall. We see more children scoring in the exemplary category. And the greatest difference has been for ESOL students. For students with disabilities, we've seen remarkable increase in pass rates on state tests, students on free and reduced lunch as well. And I think that speaks to leveling the playing field and giving access to all children.
It ran into 15 minutes of our recess time, and I don't think a single child was saying, we need to go to recess now.
No, 6 p.m. is the lowest.
Yes,
No, they're the same. We had the drag Pisa onto the world map, and we had the drag Boston. Since they're on the different sides of the world, when the world rotates, Italy has high tides while Boston has low tides.
You problem solve in language arts. What word is the best in this context? You problem solve in social studies. What event caused this particular event? So you have problem solving everywhere. And if they can get that idea in science, then they can use it in all of their subject areas and within their world.
So Rock Hill Schools in South Carolina in the United States, a district in the U.S., like many districts. It's an urban school district, about 17,000 students. Nearly 60% of the students are impacted by poverty. So for the last about 6 years now, they've introduced digital content, professional development for their teachers, and a variety of additional resources, and they've seen some pretty dramatic results. So they have self-provided this information back to us, compared against the state tests in South Carolina, and across the grade levels that participated in the trials of these products and of a variety of other services. They showed gains on those state tests than compared to the students who were not allowed or not introduced to the digital content. And in subgroups, those students impacted by poverty, those students who had special learning needs, and with girls, they saw even greater gains. So certainly in Rock Hills, there's a variety of things that go into an initiative of this size. It's all the different components that some of the other speakers have talked to this morning. It is some access. It is some access to technology. It is access to high-quality digital content. And of course, it's the professional development of the teachers along the way. In Rock Hill's case, they used what we call TechBook. It's our version of a digital textbook. It's a nonlinear interactions with content. It engages students first and foremost to get the students hooked. So oftentimes what we hear from a student is, well, why do I need to know this? Or why am I here? Or how will this help me later in life? So making those connections with phenomena, making them see something that's actually really engaging and exciting. And then connecting it back at the end to a career and an application in real life. And we find with use of this kind of engagement, student dropout rates go down, student engagement goes up, student attendance rates go up. Hooking the students and keeping them engaged is step one. We teach using an inquiry-based approach. And using an inquiry-based approach isn't necessarily something that all teachers across the board maybe are familiar with. So utilization of the high-quality digital content can also be a bridge and a crutch for the teacher as well. helping them with content that is ready-made to enforce those inquiry-based skills. It's actually another reference back to my putting a plant in the window example. So you can trial over and over again with your different hypotheses as to what's going to end with the greatest gain from your plant. Differentiation of instruction. All teachers, there's great teachers everywhere, and they all know they should be differentiating the instruction student by student, pupil by pupil. It's easier said than done. If you're sitting in a classroom with 50 students, where are you going to find the time to be able to differentiate? With high-quality digital content, that differentiation can even be handled by the student. So if the student needs to switch to a different language, they can do it. If they need to dive deeper into a specific piece of vocabulary, they can. Digital content allows you to take notes directly on the screen, save it later, pick it up on another device, or even print it out. So differentiation is not only the responsibility of the teacher, digital content can enable them to do this at scale. And then utilization of content that explores ways of assessment or interaction that mirrors testing that the student might see. So many of the interactives within our tech books mirror how a student would be interacting with content that they find on a PISA exam, for example. And also utilization of that content to begin making those connections to STEM. So everybody's talking about STEM and the idea of creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication skills being utilized throughout a transdisciplinary approach is certainly something that all teachers aspire to. But the question we always get asked, or the request we get, is, how do I do that? It sounds great, but how do I apply that on a daily basis? So our vision on STEM is best encapsulated through what we call STEM Connect.
How can we inspire every child to solve real-world challenges and prepare them with skills for their future? Introducing Discovery Education STEM Connect, an interdisciplinary K-8 resource which helps students realize that in every real challenge, there is real possibility. STEM Connect enhances core curriculum by weaving the 4 C's into a unique framework that progresses across subjects and grade levels, providing every child with opportunities to access their greatest potential. Students are engaged as citizens of their communities and as citizens of the world with great appropriate challenges. Younger students are faced with personal, local issues, where older students are pushed to solve complex, global challenges. Students will also learn about STEM careers in context and connect the skills they are using to real work happening around the world. STEM Connect is designed to be flexible and make curricular connections across grades and subjects, from math and literacy to art and health. While students are sharpening their problem-solving skills, they're also developing and strengthening literacy skills through informational text infused with fictional stories and characters, introducing problems with relevancy and engagement. STEM Connect pairs all of this rich digital content with hands-on activities that allow students to build, design, and create. We've made it easy to use STEM Connect in any classroom. Teachers have model lessons, interdisciplinary connections, interactive tools, and activities right at their fingertips. STEM Connect can also be used in any instructional setting, from a classroom full of laptops to a single interactive whiteboard. STEM Connect strengthens critical thinking skills, ignites exploration practices, and inspires lifelong STEM habits. As students tackle important real-world challenges, they'll be building real possibilities for their future. STEM Connect. Real challenges, real possibilities.
So what we aim to do is partner with ministries of education and school systems around the globe to deliver measurable and research-based programs that are typically customized to the needs of the individual objectives of that organization. Part of that is built-in professional development and teacher training, and to ensure that that digital content and the digital resources are being utilized with rigor and at scale. And then ultimately empowering the system to continue that professional learning on an ongoing basis. So this year we're on track to deliver about 25,000 days of professional development. Over 10,000 teachers will be part of those learning activities. Oftentimes that's shoulder to shoulder with a teacher in a classroom. Sometimes it's delivered via a blended learning solution online or through satellite. But ultimately we customize based on the needs of the individual partners that we're working with. And all along the way, we supplement that with what we call the Discovery Educator Network. So this is a free community for anybody, anywhere to join. Right now, around the globe, Discovery Education is reaching about 50 million students and 4.5 million educators in 50 different countries. And we give an opportunity for teachers in all of those countries to collaborate amongst one another and share best practices. And again, that's just a part of something we do. Anybody can join. And what we found is for those teachers who either don't know how to get started or don't know how to implement a lesson or maybe just don't know what to do about STEM, they can reach out to one of their new colleagues across the network at any part of the globe and almost immediately get an answer. And we offer online, virtual, and in-person opportunities as part of the DEN. In each summer, we offer what we call the Discovery Educator Network Summer Institute. And this short video describes what many of the teachers from around the globe who attended that institute found as a result.
The Discovery Education community reaches educators in 45 countries in 6 continents.
It's like a family. The family has welcomed me, Haiti, with open arms.
I wanted to be a part of Discovery Education community to get an opportunity to energize my own teaching and meeting with teachers from all over the world.
A division of the world's #1 nonfiction media company, Discovery Education educates and inspires more than 50 million students around the world.
The one word that I would use to describe Discovery Education is exciting.
Discovery Education has many impacts in my students by changing their minds, thinking out box.
Teachers are nurtured in their professional development and support each other online.
Being part of a global community means that I've always got someone to support me, I've always got someone to help me.
Educators all over the world are isolated in their classrooms. So to find out what's going on in other countries, in other classrooms, resources and strategies that are being used, and then to network with other people and be able to use that information to benefit all of our students.
It's sharing, it's teachers talking to teachers. It's not someone at the front of the room telling you what to do or telling you how you need to be, but it's people sharing what's worked for them and what hasn't worked and how to make your classroom awesome.
Dynamic teaching methods harness the power of digital learning, taking students on 21st century learning adventures.
Today is different from the past. I use a lot of strategy and I use a lot of activity which make my students have fun, more engaged. They have a lot of critical thinking, have fun for everything you do.
We don't have a lot of opportunities for field trips. So just giving our students up-close examples and videos, it could make science come to life.
The classroom has become a place where learning is fun, innovative, creative, and collaborative, and teachers are empowered.
It's allowing them to give students a voice, and it's allowing them to be more creative and more facilitators than traditional chalk and talk in the classroom.
The future looks brighter with Discovery Education and its global community.
Now they're going to really be excited about education because they're going to be having fun at the same time. So this is what the Discovery Education family has done for me in my school.
And it just shows you that you've got that kind of help and support around you, kind of like a big hug all the way around.
We talked earlier about STEM, and you can't talk about STEM without talking about coding, computational thinking, computer science. And one of the things that we really are faced with these days is that it's the new language. So you learn Arabic, you learn English, you learn computer programming. And it's usually not the kids that have any trouble picking up the coding, it's the teachers who may need a little extra support in understanding how to teach the coding. principles. So in the UK, the British National Curriculum introduced coding in 2014 as a requirement. And what we found is a need for the teachers to have the quick, easy lessons in order to implement that in their classroom. And so our coding service has served that need, and it has been rolled out in several other countries, most recently in Swedish. In Egypt, we have the great honor of working with the government here on digital learning, digital content, high-quality digital content, as well as professional development around STEM. We've been working here for a couple of years now and are finding some great results. 96% of the teachers are saying that their students are more engaged. Again, just getting them to the classroom. You saw some of the teachers in that Den video, in fact. 84% are saying that students are more likely to participate in class. And what you may have noticed in some of these videos is that technology is not always the most obvious thing in the video, and that's because it doesn't always need to be a one-to-one or a high-tech classroom. So often the classrooms that we're working in are on or the systems we're working with are on a multi-year continuum, and they're introducing digital content through a means that is blended learning, and sometimes that is little to no technology in a classroom, or it's a single phone that someone has brought in to utilize through QR codes and access real-time on-demand content. So we have one more short video. In this case, it's a rural school here in Egypt to show that end of the spectrum.
Welcome to an extraordinary primary school. This is rural Egypt. At.Advances lies on the Nile 50 miles north of Cairo. It's a world away from the bustle of the capital. This was one of the first schools to sign up to the Egyptian Knowledge Bank and Discovery Education's professional development program at their launches in 2016.
احنا لما ابتدينا نعمل الديسكفري او نطبق ديسكفري حصل تغيير في الفكر نفسه، في المنظومه نفسها، في التفكير نفسه، سواء بالنسبه للطالب او بالنسبه للمعلم نفسه، لانها حاجه جديده. ابتدوا يلاقوا ان العمليه سهله، مش معقده، مش محتاجه امكانيات كبيره. ابتدت الامور دي تنعكس على اولياء الامور في البيت، على الطلبه في المدرسه، على المدرسين. ابتدى يبقى فيه تفاعل، فيه استمراريه، فيه خليه نحل بتعمل عشان انها توصل للهدف.
The impact of being part of the Discovery Education family is truly inspiring. When you consider that this school does not have a single computer or Wi-Fi in the building.
أول مرة جيت المدرسة هنا طبعا فوجئت إن مفيش أصلا شبكة للإنترنت، فإحنا بدأنا نكيف أو نظبط الاستراتيجيات بتاعتنا بحيث إنها تعوضنا عن استخدامنا للإنترنت. Discovery Education مش تطبق فقط في المكان اللي فيه نت، لا ممكن نطبقه في أي مكان.
Yet against the odds, this school has produced impressive academic results.
احنا الأول كنا بنعتمد أساساً على التعليم بالتلقين. طبعاً التلقين ده بيؤدي للطالب الفهم بنسبة حوالي 40-50%. النهارده لما طبقنا الاستراتيجيات الجديدة زي ديسكفري وزي بنك المعرفة، التعليم النشط أدى إلى ارتفاع نسبة الفهم والتفاعل من الطلاب، فوصلت النتيجة عندنا فوق ال 95%.
من خلال ديسكفري واستراتيجياته وطبقناها كلها مع زمايلي في الفصل، وقدرت ان انا اجيب الدرجات النهائيه، وان هو كمان حول طريقه التعليم من الحفظ الى الفهم.
These pupils of today are Egypt's future. Their experience of school and the way they are taught are setting them up to lead their generation in academic success.
So I mentioned Marty Creel, who authored the article that's on your tables, and here's a picture of Marty, so you know he's a real person. He's got just a 4-step plan that he considers for introduction of high-quality digital content. Of course, using technology to provide the equitable outcomes for all students, and technology doesn't necessarily mean one-to-one. It means an introduction of technology, and that technology, in fact, may be the student's only opportunity to interact with technology if they're not receiving that kind of interaction at home. Create a plan, of course, to leverage digital content's ability to serve as a transformation tool. That also involves professional development in the teacher training to ensure rigor and relevancy in the execution of the plan. Partner to actually create confidence and skills of your teachers, and public-private partnerships are probably the way to go to build the scale that you need. And Marty always says, don't be afraid to go big. So sometimes it's the analysis part is the hardest part, and finally saying, let's go, and committing to a plan is sometimes the hurdle that needs to be overcome. So with that, I thank you very much, and I understand we'll take some questions.
Thank you, Kelli. I hope it works. Yes. Thank you for the presentation. I must confess, one of our problems in Portugal was the content, because in that time was not good and quality content, digital content. Then one of the critics we get is how you move forward if you don't have really quality content. Then it's a very, very important point in the project. I think everybody agree with that. With no further ado, please, comments and questions. And I am very happy you mentioned Karen Cutter, which is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
One, please, gentlemen. Just microphone. You remember the story. Present name and or institution, please.
Yes, Amr Mahfouz from IBM. Thank you for the excellent presentation. I think it's a very exciting experience. I want to ask about the part that was related to Egypt. Was the content adapted and Arabized, adapted to the school curriculum in Egypt? Was it translated? Because definitely at this level, I believe this is needed to deliver this experience. Thank you.
Yes, great question. And in fact, yes, it was customized. It's a little bit of both. So there was an existing library of content that we have that we provided as access in Egypt. We localized that content into Arabic, and then we've produced content on the ground here in Egypt so that there's a kind of a continuum of experiences to round out the curriculum, and that it is aligned to the curriculum as well. So it was a consultative project with the government to ensure that their needs were met, and we did quite a bit of localization here.
Any more questions or comments? Sometimes comments are important too. Then we can react. Dr. Agdad, please. ITU has made a lot of work here in Middle East. I know because I already collaborate with ITU. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mario. Yeah, my name is Ibrahim Al-Haddad. I'm the Regional Director for the ITU for the Arab States. Kelli, a couple of questions and maybe a small comment. A question is, you mentioned in your first slides, I think you mentioned about the improvement of the vocabulary, for students' vocabulary. Now, as you know, the vocabulary changes. My vocabulary, my days are different than the vocabularies of the young generations. So how do you adapt to those new changes? That's the question. The other question is, I noticed the last slide that you had regarding equality, using technology for equality, and I think that's quite important in the sense that there are sometimes inequality between the rural and the urban areas. I mean, I heard this comment saying that the people in the rural areas are backwards and so on. No, they're not backwards. They need an opportunity. They need to be given the chance. They might even be better at achieving something new rather than the urban population. Those are the comments. Thanks very much.
Great, thank you. And actually, the first question related to vocabulary, and certainly vocabulary does change. It seems to happen on a daily basis anymore. And quite frankly, that's the benefit of digital content is we can adapt on an ongoing basis. So on a daily basis, we're adding new content to our library, pulling out old content, adapting. constantly adding new languages and new vocabulary. So that is one of the benefits of, I think, digital content and frankly, the world that we live in. But certainly, the changing language on a daily basis and changing facts on a daily basis is something that needs to be curated and monitored. And I think that's kind of the advantage, the difference between all content and a high-quality digital is a distinction on what's been curated and vetted by any organization that is of quality and rigor. And then the urban and rural component, yes, it's a critical component to, I'm sure everyone in this room, and what you're considering is the haves and the have-nots. And I think many of the conversations we've had, even in the United States, in Miami-Dade public schools about 10 years ago, the superintendent there, Dr. Alberto Cavallo, found it critically important to provide digital opportunities and digital access in his schools because these were students who maybe were living just a couple of miles away from an ocean and never seen it. And where else would they have an opportunity to interact with digital means, whether it's the content or a device? And so even though there was not a circumstance where there was enough budget available to have a device in the hands of every student, he created an opportunity through a series of labs and bring your own device programs to have interactions with those devices and that content throughout the day, and then providing the teachers the training so that they understand the difference between static content, which would maybe in an old book, and where they can access content at different points of time and maybe print them out on demand to provide access to the most relevant information on hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lady.
Yeah. Hi, this is Nermina Bougazi. I'm in charge of Al-Alfi Foundation, which is keen on working with the STEM education reform. After we've been already in contact with the ministry, knowing the good work that Discovery has been doing, I just wonder what's your plan in scaling up the teachers' training? This is number one, in order to maintain also the consistency of the quality you are looking for. And is there any kind of coordination between the content you're being providing to the knowledge bank and the other content that the students will access to as well, in order not to feel the difference of the quality being provided? And last, if you have any sustainability plan that you would guarantee for us in order to make sure that this is not like a contract or a short-term plan, but we are looking for a sustainable quality of a student and teacher, mentoring him all the way through. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, great questions. Thank you very much for posing them. So the first question was about scale. And in a country as large as Egypt and many of your countries, that is the biggest challenge, is reaching all the teachers. And we partner with a variety of different organizations here in Egypt. We don't do it alone. There's a big initiative called Teachers First, and we work closely with them as well. Discovery Education's training in particular around STEM and some of the new curriculum initiatives is through a scaled means, and we're reaching some teachers directly and then reaching some teachers through a cascading of practice, and also reaching through different technological means. And so that may look different in different countries depending on the initiative and the desired outcomes. You had a piece about sustainability after the fact, and I know there's a lot of different publishers involved in different initiatives with the government. In terms of your second question on access of the content and as it relates to the curriculum, I can only speak to the Discovery Education portion, and that is aligned, so there is a continuity between what the students can see kind of on demand at their leisure and what is being taught in the classroom. So in the case of the Discovery Education content, there is a direct correlation. And then ongoing sustainability. So we like to support in a variety of means. On the professional development front, the Discovery Educator Network is there indefinitely, having nothing to do with a contract. So that teacher support community, which is several thousand strong in Egypt, am I right, Robin, in terms of a count, continues indefinitely. And then a lot of the content that actually is part of this initiative is government-owned at the end of the contract.
Thank you. I don't see any comment or question. Just one short question related to your final comment. Is there any kind of partnership between Discovery Education and the local publishers? Is there any program, or is not in your plans for
No, we work with actually all sorts of different local publishers around the globe, depending on the needs of any individual country. So in some countries where we work with the government and the ministries, it's a direct relationship. In other countries, there's a relationship through an existing publisher or through a publisher's portal. So we could work in any of the situations.
I asked this because in Portugal, we have two big local publishers. They are very good in communicating with the teachers in the schools, but the quality of the content is not the same. Then it's for them important to find partners who can provide that kind of content like yours. That's my question.
Yeah, we can work with a publisher, and we can, if appropriate, we can disaggregate our content. So it doesn't have to be selected as a complete tech book, for example.
Yeah.
The different pieces of the individual assets, which can be aligned directly in with a curriculum, which is probably what the publisher is providing. We can work in that capacity as well.
Thank you. Thank you for the good presentation. I think it was very, very refreshing to hear the strategy on content. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
John, please.
Thank you very much, Kelly. And so now, artificial intelligence, what's it all about? Particularly, what implications does artificial intelligence have for you as policymakers? Is it within reach? I don't know. Maybe you know Mario, but maybe someone who knows better is Wael Abdoush, who's the head of IBM Egypt. Please give Wael a warm welcome, of course.
I'm sure.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everybody. So my name is Wael Abdoush. I'm the general manager for IBM in Egypt, and I'm very pleased to be with you here today in this event. IBM has been in the technology field for the last 107 years. We have been for 107 years developing innovative technologies that are enabling individuals, businesses, governments to transform and improve life. That's why we think we are here today. That's why we were very keen on talking and meeting with all of you here. We think that education and digital inclusion is one or two of the key areas where we think IBM can help with in any society. Let me just make sure that okay. So artificial intelligence is one of the key examples how technology can really transform life. For the last 5 decades, computers and information technology were all about automating business processes. Organizations were using computers just to automate the process, how they do their business, like opening a bank account or processing a visa application for a government agency. Finally, the key advantage here was getting the process done in a quick way and a very precise way. So speed and accuracy were the key competitive advantages. And computers and information technology provided individuals and organizations with huge competitive advantage based on this. We can call the last 50 years as the process economy era, where the key differentiator was how fast, how accurate you were able to progress through your business process. Nowadays, this has to change, because in the last few years, we can see a shift where insight about your clients, about your business, trying to find new ways to serve your clients, new ways to do your business, are becoming to be the real competitive advantage for any business or organization. We can call this really the start of the insight economy. So we are really, indeed, into the insight economy era, where data is a natural asset, where data can make the difference for any organization or society to really make a competitive advantage. And this is how artificial intelligence have started, and this is how cognitive technologies are becoming to be a key enabler for the whole world. to really mine through data, understand, learn, make reason, and finally help human beings come up with decisions. This is what cognitive systems, cognitive solutions, and artificial intelligence are all about. Let me see if I can move through this. Yeah, it's working. Okay. So in a recent study IBM has done with more than 3,000 C execs in more than 90 countries, operating in over 20 industries, we have seen that, as you can see on the right-hand side, almost 40% of all the people we have interviewed, all the executives we have interviewed, are using artificial intelligence in a way. About 11% of them are already the early innovators. So they are not only using artificial intelligence today, but they intend to invest more and more in artificial intelligence in the coming years. While we can see that about 23% of the organizations did not yet start, but they are planning to, so they believe in the value they can get out of artificial intelligence. The 38% you can see at the bottom, these are the ones who do not yet see. We call them the observers, the watchers. So they are watching everybody else. They are late, they are the potential losers, because by the time they realize the value they can get out of artificial intelligence, it might be too late for them because everybody else would be ahead. Artificial intelligence is basically technologies that are learning in an interactive way. So they learn from data. So there are huge volumes of data available today. Think about the amount of data you do through your mobile phones. Not only the calls, not only the browsing, not only the social media interactions you do every day, but also the amount of data that is available through clouds, the amount of data that are available through also business systems that are going around the world today. But this is not the only source for learning for artificial intelligence. It's also the interaction with human beings. So many of the artificial intelligence cognitive technologies are able to learn even from dealing with human beings, either in discussions, conversations, or text interactions. Artificial intelligence technologies are able to interact with human beings in natural language. And in the meantime, they are context sensitive. This means that they can recall history, and they can be making the discussion or the decision based on a specific environment. They have memory. They recall what happened before, the last interaction, and we can start from where we ended before. They are contextual, so they link everything to the environment. They are not fixed. They link the decision to the changes within the factors around the context. And they are adaptive, so they can deal with the change of data, and they can tolerate ambiguity. And finally, they can provide what we call the confidence-weighted response, confidence-weighted recommendation to human beings. And this is basically what can augment human beings in decision-making cycles so that they can make a decision based on specific confidence score coming from this technology. Artificial intelligence evolved over so many decades from being a sci-fi thing to a reality that we are using today in businesses as well as in societies. You can see over so many years, many organizations, many entities contributed to the development of these technologies. IBM, for sure, was leading the way all the time in developing and improving artificial intelligence technologies. But what does artificial intelligence mean for governments and for public sector service, for citizen service as well? So the increase of speed in transactions processing, so the Hong Kong Immigration Department, they were processing more than 4 million visa applications every year. they decided to deploy an artificial intelligence technology to classify visa applications before they go to the visa officer. They managed to reduce the time needed to approve or reject visa applications by about 30% by using 3 categorization or classification of visa applications by like initial approved or initial rejected and gray, which they leave anyway for a human being to decide. And then everything is pushed to a visa officer who manage basically to make a final decision based on the recommendation. Artificial intelligence is also able to augment the capabilities of workforce by allowing workforce to do more valuable kind of work. So the US citizenship as well as immigration services, they were receiving every year more than 14 million calls from citizens questioning things around their website. So a couple of years ago, they deployed an artificial intelligence-based chatbot. The name was Emma for this chatbot. And it was able to receive the questions of the citizens checking with the website and interacting in natural language based on either text or even voice. And we're able really to save enormous amount of time for people and refocus the people to do more valuable things than just answering questions about how to navigate in the website. Accelerating innovation, a good example of that was what was done in the city of Pittsburgh together with the University of Carnegie Mellon, where they have deployed an AI-based system doing traffic flow control. They were basically deploying artificial intelligence-based virtual agents controlling the traffic signals in key intersections, gathering all data, processing the data, learning from the data, and communicating with different agents to make decisions real time. And manage with this to save about 25% of the travel time across the city. So these are just a few examples. How can artificial intelligence help in governments and in public sector in the field of citizen service? But of course, with any technology, with any improvement, there's always challenges coming. We can look at this as challenges or opportunities. Key challenges are in the area of technology deployment, in the areas of workforce retraining. So from a technology and data perspective, we still have a lot of legacy IT systems and platforms, infrastructures in all organizations around the world. So are the current infrastructure ready really for artificial intelligence is one thing we need to think about. They have limited IT interoperability. They were, as we said before, they were designed to automate process. The question now, can these systems really start to learn from data and transform into giving new decisions? We have limited project management capabilities, and we have lack of prioritization from a data-driven solutions. One of the key challenges that are facing all organizations today, including even public sector organizations, is the availability of data scientists. So a data scientist is a new role that is needed in the new data and insight economy. A data scientist is a leader who is helping the organization really start to structure everything in the organization around the data. How can we leverage the data to get new insights? How can we serve our clients better? How can we improve our business moving forward? And you can see here on the right-hand side, I'm not going to read through the charts, how all these challenges can really be mitigated. And as I said, there are so many opportunities here. And you can see also that education, you can make the link, that education and training can be one key area in moving through these challenges. Workforce, retraining for workforce, getting workers and employees to understand the new concept. It's not really about automating processes. It's more about understanding and innovating new ways to serve clients and do the business in a different way. Changing the view on IT as just a service organization, but rather a way to do business better. And finally, making sure that we redesign the systems, keeping data in mind from the beginning. So we start from the thinking of that the data and information about our clients is leading the way for how we do our business. Risk management is an important area around artificial intelligence. So securing systems, cybersecurity attacks, this is something that is happening around the world, and there's a lot of investments from organizations to protect the data, the information, not only of the clients, but also about the business. Risk aversion, ethical and social considerations are very important. The more we gather information, the different sources we gather information from, data from, is now opened by more also the social channels and so on. So this puts a new dimension for compliance, privacy, and in the meantime, making sure that we handle all this in an ethical way. Governance, and we'll talk more about this, how can we make sure that we have the right controls within any organizations around protecting data and handling data, and making sure also that from a compliance perspective we have clear rules about this. So these are the three key dimensions that we are seeing in any society, and especially in how governments and how public sector organizations are thinking whenever they are talking about using and leveraging artificial intelligence. So the intent, first of all, human augmentation versus replacement. That's the key arguments where we are going through with many organizations when we talk about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is going to replace human beings. That's an argument. Absolutely not. And by the way, the same argument was raised many years back when barcode technology was invented, when ATMs were first introduced, even coffee machines when they were first introduced. These are going to replace human beings. These are going to reduce jobs for human beings. Absolutely not. Technologies over years have proved to be allowing more productive ways of doing business, transforming lifestyle, and accordingly, at the end, creating even more jobs. With artificial intelligence is no exception. It is a key area that is going to create more jobs for human beings with time. Skills, training, and education, we talked already about the challenge. How can we retrain nations? How can we retrain individuals really to deal with artificial intelligence technologies? How can they leverage and get the benefit of using these technologies? And finally, data algorithmic transparency and data governance. These are the areas, the three areas in any artificial intelligence implementation that we need to think about. The concept of data responsibility is becoming to be a very important concept. In IBM, we believe that any organization that is collecting, storing, managing, processing data have to handle this responsibly. From the data ownership and privacy, clients stay to be the owners of their data, and their privacy has to be respected and protected. And that's why we have a lot of compliance around data privacy. And we have seen that many, not only organizations, but also even nations started to put a lot of standards and a lot of protection for data privacy. We have seen the GDPR introduction earlier this year, and all businesses and public sector organizations were working for a long time just to comply and make sure this standard, the GDPR standard, was being respected. Data flows and access, not only that we collect the data, but where the data is being used, where the data is being stored, and how the access to the data remains to be still the client's right, and the client is the only one who should be deciding the flow and the access for the data. Data security and trust. So technologies like encryption, for example, we are using this and we are implementing it, we are embedding it in all our technologies with the purpose of protecting people, with the purpose of protecting clients. When I say clients here, by the way, clients not necessarily are business clients for organizations, but can also be citizens and human beings dealing with governments or public sector organizations. Data skills and new collar jobs is a key area. The more we use data, the more we enable younger generations to find jobs and to create more opportunities for them. And that's a very interesting concept. And we are, especially in IBM, we are very attentive to this concept, and we're trying as much as we can to contribute to societies around the world in this area. How can we help the new collar, how can we help the new generations to acquire the new skills needed to deal with these advances in technology and accordingly find new opportunities in the job markets. And our president and chairman has been talking about this for a long time. We have a big focus on how can artificial intelligence augment workforce, augment human beings in doing jobs and finding new opportunities, and in the meantime dealing with data in a responsible way. If I can go back to one key concept related to education here, is one of the, or two of the key initiatives that we're running around the world, and Egypt is at the core of this, is our Digital Nation Africa, which is a program that we are rolling across the whole continent, as well as in Egypt, training and skilling new generation students through digital literacy. So we are helping them by acquiring all the new skills through online education, and in the meantime, we are connecting them with the job market by doing connections with key recruiters, online recruiters in the countries, to find new opportunities based on the skills they acquire. The IBM Skills Academy is also another initiative we're running across so many countries, as well as here in Egypt, where we are cooperating very closely with universities and educational institutions. And here we are very proud also to be working with the Ministry of Higher Education in Egypt, as well as the Universities Council in Egypt, to avail this program to all students, as well as to researchers, as well as teaching assistants and professors, where they can really leverage all the IBM technologies in education. We have been working with them for a long time, and we'll continue to drive this way forward. We have a very strong belief that education and acquiring new skills is the new forward for nations to be more competitive and successful in the future. So I thank you very much for your attention, and I'm open for questions. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Wael. Now it's time for questions and comments, not only questions. Please. I have before we wait for the questions, I have one question. Is one of the challenges in the near future is how we use artificial intelligence for creating personalized programs, personalized learning programs, because each student will have its own school. It will be kind of school of one. Have you any work done on that area?
Yes, there's a lot of work going nowadays on deploying artificial intelligence in the field of education in general. Mm-hmm. As maybe you have seen in one of the charts, artificial intelligence as a technology is context sensitive. So, and part of this is really having personalized outcome. Mm-hmm. So we try to go with artificial intelligence technologies to learn about new ways to develop education for special sets of human beings. And we try as much as we can to personalize this thing to them. That's the real advantage of really using artificial intelligence. It's not fixed. It's something that is can be personalized and something that is dependent on finally the audience that is targeted with this technology. This is a key difference with the, again, as we said, the process economy era. In the process economy era, you had to deliver one thing that fits all. You cannot really change from one audience to another.
Thank you. Now it's time. I know the presentation was very clear, but I'm sure there are some comments or questions.
There's one here in the back.
One, please.
Okay, I'll step up and offer a question. Very interesting presentation. Of course, it's great to hear about.
Thank you.
IBM is a leader in AI. My name's Dr. Stephen McKee. I'm from LabTech and also on the board of World IDAC. I was just in a conference last week in Malaysia, forum for Asian TVET experts, and we were talking about the point that you raised before, which is about displacements of people. And I think this is very important. I agree with you totally. By the way, I'm a proponent of technology. I'm not anti-technology by any means. In fact, I think it is going to have a huge role in the future. But what will that future be like? And although it opens up jobs indisputably, but those types of jobs it opens up may not be the ones that the ones who are displaced can be retrained or aspire to. So there's two questions. Give you an example though. We're talking about two examples of displacements. One in a developed country. In the next 10 years, they're talking about that autonomous vehicles will displace about 3 million truck drivers in the US. Now truck drivers, I don't know, many of you have probably been to America, you may know, truck drivers are not going to be your next IT gurus. And very few of them will be able to take advantage of the new jobs. The second example that was given by members of the forums was from the Philippines. The Philippines has 1 million people engaged in call centers. In fact, it's the second largest country in the world after India that has call centers. And they were saying that they expect within the next 3 years, all 1 million people will be out of work because it will be replaced by AI, like Google's duplex and things like this. I think you have similar things. So the question is on here, is that really going to happen? And what do we do with those who are displaced about reskilling? I think that's one of the issues that as educators we need to take on the challenge of to see in the future. I'm sure you can contribute what that's going to be. How do we retrain them? Where does the responsibility lie? Where do we get the resources? Because as new industries may move out to a different country, the 1 million Filipinos will be out of work, the AI bots will be living in Iceland, in the server farms there. So really interested to hear your views on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That's a great question, and thank you very much for the comments as well. So I strongly believe that artificial intelligence is giving this new opportunity, as you said, of reskilling the nation, reskilling human beings, and shifting, transforming their focus to different areas. So there are two key areas here, two things I would just use to comment or answer this question. The first thing is the great opportunity of allowing people to focus on more value-add things. So instead of doing mechanistic kind of jobs, by taking technology to take part of this, and we don't have enough bandwidth usually in all organizations because of the costs and so on. Now they can refocus people after retraining, reskilling them to do more value-add things. This would not only give advantages for the organizations, but also advantages for the people, because by doing more value-add jobs, they will have better income, better life, and so on. The second thing is, I think, is a key thing. One of the key opportunities coming with artificial intelligence is also exploring new ways to do business and to provide services, right? Much beyond what we know now, much beyond the traditional mechanistic kind of work and jobs that are being done today. So hopefully, with the vast deployment or the vast implementation of artificial intelligence technologies, organizations and nations are going to find new ways to do work and to provide services that would still require the same population, the same people, after, of course, reskilling and retraining them to deliver these new jobs and new services. That's a key thing. So what we have been doing for the last, I wouldn't say only the last 50 years in the process economy era, but maybe in the last, I don't know how many thousands of years, maybe we are going to see new jobs and new services that needs to be done over the coming periods, and only artificial intelligence through how they learn from data and from interaction with people, they are going to tell us how really to go into this new era. And this will need also people to deliver these services. That's how I see this technology to be helping. Any more questions?
Any more?
Okay.
We have time. This time we have time. Thanks to the clarity of the presentation and keeping your time, we have time for some comments or questions. I think this topic is a new topic and people are still fit on the topic, especially in the field of education. Yeah. I have two more questions then to use the time. Thanks to the time. The first one is, one of the best paid jobs in the world today is quant, which is the person who transforms a problem in a calculation to be able to develop artificial intelligence. But this is a problem not only for, let's say, a data engineer or for a programmer or whatever. Is for anybody can be a quant if they focus and try to understand, and this will be one of the new jobs. But one of the problems, and this is the question I see, is how you see, because you are based in Egypt, countries like Egypt compared with other countries who have already more digital systems already developed. How you see, how can we leapfrog this situation? Because in the end of the day, artificial intelligence go to create a lot of competitiveness in the countries who implement this because they can do the things faster and better. How the other countries can meet this dynamic to be competitive, in your opinion? Because you are here, you know the market, and you know what maybe are the challenges.
Thank you very much. Great two questions. So let me start by the second part. And you used a very good word, the leapfrogging, right? So yes, what we see today in Egypt is a great opportunity, how we can really leverage these new technologies to provide new services. And here I'm not only talking about businesses, but equally government and public sector. The leapfrogging comes from the fact that in a nation like the Egyptian nation, where we have a huge part of the nation as new generation, as the younger part of the generation, they are all going today through a lot of the education programs, and we are helping also with that. I talked already about the new education initiatives that we are taking to provide these new skills to the younger generation. With this strong capital in the country, we think that this is going to help the country go more into this new economy, although maybe at the time of the process economy, the developing countries in general were a little bit lagging. So maybe it's the time for these new generations to leapfrog to the new economy. And that's exactly what we are going to help the country here, to help also the government move forward towards. For the first question, you're absolutely right. I mean, and I talked about it. It's already one of the key challenges, how you really can make sure that you build all the new skills, the new I would say, the prerequisites really to go more in leveraging these new technologies. A big part of that is how can human beings, new roles being created in business organizations, in government organizations that are really not only understanding such technologies, but they understand how can they leverage these technologies more to go to the future, which is going to take time, but is not an impossible thing. And this is also we are working with. We are trying to help many organizations, also in the business field, to really build their understanding for data science. What does it mean really to have a data scientist in any organization? How can they not only build the skills, but finally find the right candidates for these jobs? And we're providing a lot of consulting to many organizations around this as well. So it's part of our key focus.
Thank you. Any more question or comment? If not, one question, another question, please. We have time. We still have time. Microphone, please. Gentlemen. It's here, please.
So again, this is Amr Mahfouz from IBM. And I just want to make a context of what is going on now in Egypt and how can we use artificial intelligence in education according to the current government plan. Now in Egypt, we have constructed successfully what we call the 360 view of the citizen. So now there is a comprehensive view on each citizen, and one of the data elements that we have is the education. How many in schools, how many in primary schools, how many in preparatory schools, what kind of schools, government, private. Also, there has been a scanning on all the buildings across the country. So now there is another database that has exactly how many educational buildings are in Egypt, where are they? And at the essence of any artificial intelligence system is clean data and factual data. Then we can build on this to go and predict what we may need and find patterns in the data that we already have. So in the coming phase, the government have the chance to really understand where do we need to put investments in terms of the buildings, where do we need to have more schools, and what kind of schools, and how to link it with the labor market. So what kind of demand is existing right now? We need more focused education, either for the local market or for the expert business later on. So now the foundation is there, the government plans is there, so I believe this is coming and it is happening now. The foundation is there, and maybe as Wael said, there are demand now for new jobs like data scientists that will help us find the right patterns and answer the questions of what do we need to do next, how to have a kind of predictive analysis.
Thank you. Final comment?
Yes, so Amr said it all. So education is a key segment for us, a key sector, and we have been working, I mentioned already with His Excellency, the Minister of Higher Education, but we are also working very closely with the Ministry of Education in Egypt. So we're looking at it from both the schools as well as the universities and research centers as well. Is key area, is where we believe we can leverage our technology and we make it available to the society really to move forward and to help really advance. That's exactly what we are focused on in the country.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And for helping us to understand better the AI challenge in education. Please, John.